Oh my goodness, please tell me this is not true. Consumers will pay high prices for new and used cars for the next 2 years. Hey everybody, my name is JJ. You're watching Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust. It's August 23rd. It's Monday, 2021. So let's get back into the saga of used and new car prices. And we have to talk about the chip shortage today. And got some pretty interesting information that we need to talk about here. Now, most of you might know with the economic situation, the shutdowns, supply chain disruptions, and the surging demand for automobiles due to all the money printing and lending, that car prices have skyrocketed. And we've told you about this now for a couple years. We told you prices were going to keep rising. Well, this whole chip thing took it to a whole new level. Well, now this article says consumers are going to pay high prices for 2 more years. Well, let's take a look at this next article to see if that might be incorrect. This is out of tomshardware.com. Chip manufacturers stockpile record amount of raw materials to end shortage. So if there's a record stockpile, now this is raw materials, it has to be made into chips. Why will it take 2 years? So why are they saying, again, back to this article, that car prices are going to stay high for 2 years? Now, when you look at new cars, of course, a supply shortage of new cars or a shortage of inventory is going to spill over into the used car market, because if you can't buy a new car at a good price, you're going to look for a used car, causing used car prices to go up, causing the demand to go up there as well. Well, let's take a look at what this article is saying about the record stockpile of raw materials. The world's 9 leading chip makers hit a record high of $64.7 million worth of raw materials inventory in June, as they continue to ramp up production. So here's the story and the long story short that this article outlines. Chip manufacturers are hoarding raw material to prevent a future shortage, but they're not ramping up actual production or manufacturing of the chips, and they're blaming the labor shortage. Now, some people say that this is a contrived shortage, that they're holding back on making the chips to create artificial shortage and therefore make prices go high. And then some people say that the plan is to bring all the chips into production all at once, and therefore you're going to see a car price bubble go up and come down. You know, I have no way of knowing if that's somebody behind the scenes is planning that. We've seen boom and bust before in various different areas and industries for various reasons, and who knows, there could be people behind the scenes planning this. Maybe nobody knows except for the people that are actually planning it, if they're planning it. But this is not so good news for me. I've got a couple older vehicles and I try to keep them running as long as possible, and I was thinking about upgrading here in the next at least year or two, but I guess I might hold off. But if it's going to be 2 more years, I don't know. It's a tough decision. But as far as this shortage lasting at least a couple more years, let's take a look at this article here. Intel CEO says chip shortage could stretch into 2023. So there you go again with the 2-year prediction. And this says here, global chip shortage is affecting how quickly we can drive a car off the lot or buy a new laptop. Wall Street Journal visits a fabrication plant in Singapore to see the complex process of chip making and how one manufacturer is trying to overcome the shortage. All right, so we've got the Intel CEO also saying 2 years. And we've got another article. This is CNN. Get used to high car prices. Auto production isn't returning to normal. Isn't returning to normal. So not just 2 years. They're saying is never going to return to normal. So are we headed into a great sickness? Are we headed into a health crisis globally with all these new cases popping up? With all these new cases popping up, it seems like it's getting worse. Could we see no end to the shortages, and like we've been saying could happen here, you know, just inflation that just never stops, right? Endless money printing, but on the supply side, things just get worse and worse and worse with the production, with the sickness, with the supply chains, labor shortages. Doesn't look good, folks. So if you're looking for lower prices or a bursting bubble, you know, the news that I found today is not very good news. What do you think, though? Is it an artificial shortage? Well, maybe good news down the road here. Both Intel and TSMC are in the middle of building new fabs here in the United States, which could be a killing blow to the shortage, is what they're saying here. But it says here we'll have to wait a year or two until those facilities come into production, come online. Will chip makers want to have factories here in the US with the cost of living being so high here? And will these manufacturers want to pay wages that are enough to help people keep up with the rising cost of living? Or will the cost of living just continue to skyrocket here in the bubbles and the housing bubble and the cost of rents, that manufacturers may build these factories, but they may end up outsourcing? We'll see more empty factories. We'll have to see. But it really wouldn't surprise me if we did not see these factories open up here in the US, sadly. And let's check in and see where we're at here. The average new car price now hits a record $41,000. So it's not looking good here, folks, for the chip shortage and for everything else happening, creating this inflation, rising prices everywhere. We're going to wrap it up right here. This was going to be a short one today. Just wanted to bring you that news on the car prices and the chips. Hope you're all doing well. Stay well. Keep stacking, people. Bye for now.